this stuff because I had a lot of these like random pieces done a while ago, but it had a lot of empty space, so I wanted it to match kind of how we did how we did the sleeve. But yeah, probably about 120 would probably be the safest bet per session or per hour. Sorry.
Damn.
And most of the time it was like an hour or two. I did one session that was 4 hours. That was brutal, but and that was when we were coloring in Cthulhu. That took a lot of time. You wanted to do it in one go, and it's like it wraps around the entire
all the way
forearm and my elbow. So it's a lot of work.
Wow. Holy shit. It's one hell of a piece of art you got on your body there.
Super happy about it. And yeah, I probably won't get any more tattoos for a while, but I do want more. I have a few more spots I want to do, but
yeah,
it still sucks. Like even as many times as I've done it. Apparently I sit really well. My artist is like, oh, yeah, because I've told him I want to do chests eventually, and I know that's really hard. And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. I was like, what do you mean? I struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
like
it's just
shit.
my perception.
I can't even imagine. Like this one. Like this one only hurt when it got up into like here.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like when you're getting up there, yeah, it sucks. I hated that.
Like, I mean, granted, you got 2 full arms, so what does this make a difference? You know?
I don't know, man. Those like short and simple ones can sometimes be a pain in the ass. I will say the places that were kind of surprisingly not as painful was like on the elbow wasn't so bad. Like on the bone.
Did you have to sit like this too?
Yeah, I had to sit like kind of like contorted. That was probably the worst part of it, was how I had to sit when I did my elbows, especially because like this one is just an elbow piece, the shark.
Oh yeah,
I had an empty triangle there, and I was like, well, I like sharks and I do jiu-jitsu, and it's the whole stupid ground shark joke. So I was like, all right, cool, I like this. But no, yeah, on the elbow was fine, but then once you get like around the bone, it was like, oh, this sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the worst part is probably like, I bet like getting your, I heard ribs hurt like a bitch. And I also heard, like, your feet. If you get your feet or, like, your fingers, like your hands, I heard that hurts like a fucking bitch.
Well, because, like, there's no muscle. This is just bone and nerves.
Mm-hmm.
So you're essentially, and these are nerve, like, centrals. That's why, like, near your wrist hurts, or near your, or this is near your node, too. So that's why up here hurts. Mm-hmm. Even though you've got all this muscle and fat, depending on your makeup, like, you could be super muscular, super fat here, and it's still going to hurt because it's a lot of sensitive muscle right there, so can't imagine fingers.
Oh fuck, man. Oh fuck.
Because eventually I want to do a ring tattoo. Well, not an actual ring, but like something where my ring finger is for my wedding band replacement.
Mm-hmm.
But just like between it being very painful and like it also heals really poorly sometimes, I've heard, and I don't want to do it again. Like, I want to one and done it. I don't care how bad it looks in 10, 20, 30 years. I want to one and done it, so I at least want it to be, like, as good as possible.
Oh, yeah. I heard that, like, so my sister's, oh, by the way, I'll tell you right now, when we started talking about tattoos and everything, I hit record.
That's fine.
Okay. So
yeah,
I know it probably wasn't that big of a deal, but I had just hit record, so, okay.
No, this is good. We're just having conversation and ice breaking a little bit.
Exactly. So my future brother-in-law, he got his fingers, like the insides and like the tops of his fingers tattooed, and he said they put it down, sorry to use my middle finger, but good example, they put it down, like if my mic stand is like the table, they put it down on the table and they stand over you and like drill like hard as hell into your finger.
Yep.
To get it to stay. He said like in the olden days, if people had like their fingers tattooed, or like sometimes people's face, if they got like face tattoos up here and they're really skinny, when they would die, or like with their hands, they would like find the bones, their bones would be tattooed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they had to really dig in
there.
Not much there.
Well, and to make them last too, because like if you get fingered, like you're washing your hands all the time, you're using your hands all the time, so like that skin wears off a lot faster than like your arms or anything, So it's like, oh, I can't even imagine. Like, can you imagine just laying your finger down on a table and then full, like, probably not full body weight, but a good amount of body weight just tattooing your finger? Oh my God.
That's another reason why I'm just like apprehensive to do that.
That would hurt so bad, dude.
Yeah.
Or like your shins. I bet your shins hurt so bad. Oh.
Yeah, which is why I'm weird because the only part of my legs I would want to do is my lower legs because you're more likely to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where there's way less muscle. Like I have really big thighs, so I think I could get away pretty easily with doing my upper legs.
Mm-hmm.
But if I did my lower legs, it's gonna be painful as hell.
Oh yeah.
My dad did his on one of his legs, and he did a full sleeve, and he was like, I hated it.
It would be so bad.
Yeah, I may just stick with arms at this point.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But anyways, welcome to the podcast. We'll do the podcast intro now since we had a big conversation about tattoos. I love it.
we can always in the miscellaneous we can always talk shop if you want to. I've got other stuff we can talk about
for sure. But yeah. Well, anyways, welcome guys. Welcome to episode 7 of season 3. Obviously, you got a little thing there. You heard our conversation for a little bit, but who knows? Maybe I'll put that as like a cold entry, and then we'll play the intro music, and then we'll go into the podcast now. But who knows? Yeah. But anyways, Kennon, it's nice to finally, I guess, talk face to face. Whether we're not really in person, but this is kind of in person. We're in person.
It's in person enough.
But yeah, welcome to. I guess why am I saying welcome? Thank you for wanting to be on the podcast today. And I guess, I would ask you how you're doing, but we kind of had like a whole conversation already. But
I'm doing great.
I guess I guess I haven't asked yet. How was your day? Was your day good?
My day pretty good. I went into the office today, which during the summer it's kind of like mixed work from home because some people take this time to go on vacation, take this time to. I have a lot of friends and coworkers who their families are in other states, so they'll go work remote. So I come in certain days, like if we have a team meeting or anything. But yeah, it was good. And this is day 3 with our new dog, so we're still adjusting to that.
Awesome. That's awesome.
But he's great. He's like already settling in way easier than previous dogs we've had in the past. And you may see him in the corner at some point. He's a little long-haired black Chihuahua Pomeranian mix named Mushu.
Yeah,
we actually have never named
an adorable name.
Well, as far as I know, we've never named any of our pets. We just stick with what they come with, and it's always appropriate.
So, wait. Oh, so did you get it? Did you get your dog from a litter or from like a
no,
Humane
he's
Society?
A rescue.
Oh, rescue.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe it was Freedom Ride. I had to ask my wife. We keep up with a lot of local rescues here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and all of our dogs have been rescues.
Oh, that's awesome. How is that? Because my fiance and I, unfortunately, we live in a place where we can't have pets, but we were talking about, because we both grew up with dogs, we want to get a dog. So it's like, we want to get a dog, but we're thinking about going the rescue route. But like, my guess is everything for you has gone really well, but unfortunately, like for a person in our family, their first dog was a rescue, and it was, awesome for the first couple days they had it, and then they took it outside, and it got into a scuffle with like another dog, and the dog was older, and so it like kind of beat the crap out of that older dog, so they had to like get rid of it all of a sudden. It was kind of like hard for them to understand what was going to happen. Granted, I bet you guys have some of those feelings too when you get a rescue dog. Or I guess, what's that process that interests me?
So it really depends on the rescue, because we've had experience with some rescues where they're a lot bigger, and their whole point is to take on more so they can adopt out more, and a lot of times they can't do a very thorough vetting process. So sometimes it's kind of like you get lucky, you may not, and it's especially difficult when you already have pets and you have to consider them. If you have no pets, like, you basically just have to figure out, is this pet going to is it going to fit our lifestyle? Is it going to be good for the type of, like, do we have a backyard or not? Do you need it to run? So, but all of the places we've been have been awesome. They've just all been different. Like, some of them we go to a place, sometimes we meet just the foster parent. But we've had incredibly good luck with all of our dogs. And since I've been with my wife, so she had a dog when we first started dating, and then we got him a friend, and she was free, actually. She was because she was 13-year-old, like she was super overweight, and her family had her parent had passed away, and so we took her on, and she was our baby girl, and she lived till she was about 16 or 17. So lived the best of her life, and yeah, and now we have an 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old now. So.
Awesome.
Lots of and all from completely different places, but a lot of really great rescues around here that we're happy to support. And eventually we'll get other senior dogs, but for now we were just like, well, we just had 2 pass away back-to-back years, so I think we want to keep them for a while now.
Yes.
No, I love pets, and we've had phenomenal experiences.
That's awesome because like I mentioned, like sometimes it's just it is what it is. Sometimes dogs don't mesh well, and it's sad because you are trying your hardest to make this an awesome adaptation. Well, that's not the word. An awesome transition for them.
Yeah.
Because you can only guess what they're going through too, so it's like, and then if something doesn't work out, it's bad for both parties, and I guess maybe if I'm looking at it, honestly, I don't really care if I have a bad time. I'm looking at it from, I'm taking this dog from a place where they don't want to be, most likely initially, granted, if they've been there for a while, that's their home then, but then I'm taking them into a different place where they're unfamiliar with, they have no idea what they're going to expect, then they're coming with people that they don't know and that they may or may not be comfortable with, so it's yeah. But it's awesome to hear what you've gone through. You've had really good experiences, it sounds like, and that's awesome. That's fantastic when it comes to rescuing pets and everything. And I think more people should do that. I think
you never know. I mean,
exactly.
That's why we got sucked into it. That's why we really love senior dogs, because a lot of times people forget that puppy grows old, and if we could, we would adopt every senior dog, no joke. Especially my wife, she most of her Instagram followings that she follows is all senior dogs and senior dog rescues, and I'm just like, one of these days I'm going to come home and there's going to be more dogs. Maybe even some other animals too.
Yeah. You got a whole dang farm in your house there. Dang.
I would not. It will happen one day, I'm sure. Maybe not right now, but someday.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. But yeah, I guess introduce yourself to the people. We've kind of have obviously had conversations about some topics. People probably have a good grasp about who you are now, but introduce yourself to people. I like to say who you are, where you're from, what you do. You already kind of mentioned where you're from, so who you are, what you do. Go as shallow or as deep as you want to, my man.
Yeah, so my name's Kennon Pearson, and I'm a born and raised Raleigh, North Carolina resident. Kind of an oddity. Most people who live in Raleigh aren't from North Carolina or from Raleigh, and most people from North Carolina in this area are not from North Carolina either. So I say I'm a double unicorn. But yeah, and I've lived in this area for most of my life. I've lived in other parts of the state, and I've also traveled quite a bit. I've seen all but 4 or 5 states, and I've been to a couple countries now. So
awesome.
Well traveled, but I have a good home base here. And what do? I am currently the I always forget, associate director of creative design. Wow, you might have to add this one.
It's okay. It's okay.
The short title of what I do is graphic design at Duke Athletics, and I also do freelance graphic design and other creative forms of creativity.
Awesome. Yeah. I
always forget my title because it's so long, and that's a very higher ed thing. You're the assistant associate director of creative services / blah 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 blah, and it's well, I just say I'm a graphic designer.
Yeah,
even
basically.
Though that's not 100% of what I do. It's 90% of what I do.
Yeah, titles are so weird sometimes, man. It's apply a label to everything. Honestly, my label is a graphic designer, but I do way more than just graphic design. Mm-hmm. I shoot photos. Yeah. Not just graphic design, but we help, with social media and marketing and everything. So there's a title for every single one of those things.
Producer.
Exactly. So it's whatever. I do whatever.
Yeah,
I like what you
just do
said.
creative stuff.
Yeah, creative. Yeah, creative stuff. I like that. Different forms of creative stuff. Like that. So you work at
Love it.
Duke. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were talking a little bit before in the DMs, trying to figure out what we wanted to talk about, and I kind of want to touch on. You brought it up, talking about Coach K and his last game, and I also wanted to ask, like, working with, like, because you work with Duke. Not many people know Duke for like much else other than basketball, unless you're like from the area. Then shit, yeah, Duke football is amazing. Said maybe like 5 people ever. So like when it comes to, I guess the question I want to ask, when it comes to like that whole asking of, oh my God, you work for Duke type of situation, does the reputation of, I guess, Duke basketball or Duke in general, does that stick with you when like I like when people ask what you do and you say, oh, I work for Duke, like does that reputation kind of come with you, or like how have you kind of perceived that?
Well, I guess one big thing is it's definitely something where if I ask someone or someone asks me where I work and I say where I work, at least here in the States, like pretty much anyone is going to know that name, whether
true.
it's because of education reasons, because of basketball, or it could be other sports too. I know we have a lot of lacrosse following here. We have a really good softball program, golf. I mean, all of our varsity sports are really, really prestigious in their own ways, regardless of their success. We excel in many ways, both on the field and off the field. And but it definitely, like, I can talk to anybody. Like I was at a wedding in December in DC, and I was talking with people who are from the DC, Baltimore area, and I said that I worked at Duke. All of them knew who I was. Even so, I was in Sweden last week for vacation, and a couple people that I talked to knew who Duke was. So I was just like, yeah, it's like Duke and Carolina are like, you ask either anyone in the United States who those two names are, and they're gonna know at least one of them, if not both of them.
Yeah.
But no, I mean the reputation's there for sure. I know everyone assumes like, oh, you work with basketball, and that's always the funny thing. I'm like, well, I don't work with basketball. I help them sometimes, but basketball, both men's and women's, operate kind of on their own. Football does now too because they have their own team, and then I'm under athletics, so we cover the rest of our varsity sports. But we are all part of the cohesiveness of Duke University athletics. We all have to uphold the voice and the brand and everything that is Duke. But we all kind of have our own angle to go at it from. So that's probably the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, I guess you put a lot of information into a very easy way to kind of digest and take it in. So yeah, kudos. That was a really good explanation. But yeah, I mean that's what I thought. Maybe I just had to look a little bit further into your Twitter bio for some reason. Do you have it like general in your Twitter bio? Let me check.
Yeah, I have it. I think I just have it as graphic designer at Duke Athletics.
You do,
and with some personal blurb stuff. But like, yeah, I keep it pretty simple.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess if I would have just looked there, I wouldn't have. I don't know why I didn't. Whatever.
It's okay.
But yeah. So okay. So I guess talk about Coach K's last game and like that whole aspect of things, because obviously, if anyone knows basketball, knows college basketball, you know of Coach K and how crazy of a human he is, and how influential he is to basketball, let alone not just collegiate but even professional. So
yeah.
Design question. Did you work with, was it Brian Gundell and his team? Did they help with that, the graphics and like looks for Coach K's last game or no?
If they, there was, when I say that everyone who was involved had something to do, like there were so many people involved and so many angles that the amount of content that was put out for that last game in that last week was insane. So it's hard to keep track of like who was involved with who, and like myself, I only did certain things. My coworker Daryl, he did certain things, and we both did things for marketing, but also for game day operations, and then they had their own social media. So, there was a lot of amazing people who were involved in the process, but we were all kind of like on our own, if that makes sense, because there was so much going on. But oh man, like you want to talk about what a phenomenal like experience. obviously there was the game, and depending on what side of the Duke Carolina fence you sit on, you'll have different opinions of it. But the celebration around it was insane. I mean, a whole week, and it was the last little bit of K-ville. And for those who don't know what K-ville is, it's where the students camp out for several months in front of the gym to get in line to get student section tickets. And it's like insane. There's so many rules, and like one person has to be in the tent at all times. And we're talking like winter, we're talking snow. They'll make exceptions if it's like if a blizzard rolled through, a hurricane, obviously. But if it's just cold or just raining, you gotta suck it up, man. This is a decades-long tradition. If you want those Duke Carolina tickets, especially this past season, if you wanted that, you had to be in K-ville for as long as you could to make it happen. But yeah, I mean, like, there was a lot of content around that too. My personal contributions, my main thing, I still haven't hung it up because I'm an idiot, but I worked with marketing on this big poster, and it's got a really cool side profile picture of Coach K, and you can actually find this on social on Duke Athletics. And it's a mosaic with players, not every single player he's ever coached at Duke, but a huge portion, like 200 plus athletes to make up the mosaic. And I actually have a signed version of it, which is more reason for me to frame it. And then I helped with some game day stuff. I did like a couple graphics for Final Four tickets, lots of random things. And my coworker Daryl, he did this "Thank You Coach K" banner that it went on both sides of Cameron and also the parking garage. We were going to do a billboard that didn't end up happening. There was so much extra content that got cut, but man, it was a whirlwind. And the longer that the postseason went on after that, because there was more to it, that was his last game at Cameron, but he still had his last postseason, and that was a whole nother ordeal. That could, if it had gone all with a national championship and they had won, oh man, it would have been amazing. But at the same time, we were all thinking this is going to be a lot of work.
How far they made it to the semifinals, right?
Yeah, they made it Final Four. And for I believe it was the first time ever in that far in the tournament that they had met Carolina. For as many times as they play each other. Yeah, it was almost like the destiny game, and especially a lot of Carolina fans will forever remember, crashing Coach K's parties twice in his last season. So it's a tough subject. But what's funny is and to me this is unsurprising, because for those who don't know, Durham and Chapel Hill are 10 miles from each other, and so not only is it a bitter rivalry that's local, but it's there are people who have been to both schools, that went to one school, work at the other, that live in one city and work in the other. So it's not uncommon. So there's been some Carolina grads who work with us, and there's probably some Duke grads who work at Carolina. It's a friendly. I don't want to call it friendly because it's not, but it's very much like a family rivalry in a way. It's your brother, it's your sister. That they are that close to you as a rival. And you hate each other on certain games.
It's like you're just tossing shots every once in a while when you get a chance. I found what Brian, and you know who Brian Gundell is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dan Beltran and Sammy Silverman. So they, Zero G, they did the word mark, the iconic word mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I knew they did something. I knew they did something for the whole ordeal, but I forgot what they did, and I was wondering. I guess they probably just worked with the marketing department on that. If anything, they probably didn't really.
Yeah. Usually, I'm not in. At least with Duke specific stuff, I'm typically only communicating with internal people.
Okay, but yeah, I wanted to ask, because that would have been cool if you worked on that with Brian and that whole team. That would have been sick. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I would have loved that for sure. They're all talented people that I would love to work with on that. But no, that's very much separate, and that's just another thing to add to the machine that is Duke.
So I saw when after you came back, after you went and like changed out of your work clothes. You said you did. I found that funny. Just hey, could I actually go change quick? That's funny.
I mean, I've been wearing it all day, so it's like I need to change.
That's true. That's very true. That shirt that you got on, I saw the hat right away, but I didn't see the shirt until I didn't notice the shirt until now. Are you an Arsenal supporter?
I absolutely am. It's
I
always say I like a lot of teams, but there's only one team that I support, and there's one team that is free from the chopping block of whatever reasons. It could literally be destroyed tomorrow, relegated to the 4th tier in the English system, and I'll still be an Arsenal fan. It's a huge part of my life, and it's been a huge part of my life for very, very hardcore for like, I don't know, maybe 10 years, but it's definitely been longer than that now, because I had a friend growing up in elementary school whose dad was from Islington, and I remember growing up, because we went over on Saturdays, that's what normal kids do sometimes, and a lot of mornings there was Premier League mornings, and I remember, barely, but I remember seeing the iconic white sleeves on the red jersey before and during the Invincibles season. So it's almost like it was imprinted on me early, and then kind of in high school I rediscovered the sport, and I fell in love with Arsenal again, and it has been a big part of my life. Even if I were to never care about the team itself anymore, like the connections I've had through other Gooners and supporters groups and all that stuff, it'll always be a part of my identity, and that's the only reason why I have one sports tattoo, because I like a lot of sports, but this is the only one that's like had a truly meaningful like experience for me. And even if it's only in this time in my life, and maybe in 30-40 years it means nothing, like it'll still be a memory of a really good time in my life.
So have you gone over there and been able to see a game at the Emirates, or no?
No, it's still as many times as connected through England, I've never actually stopped there, just because when I'm spending that much money, the last thing on my mind for some reason is there. But no, it's on the list, and I have a friend who lives over that way who I could crash at. It's just we've been prioritizing other trips.
That's
but
true.
I have seen them when they've come to the United States a few times. Saw them in Red Bull Arena.
Over like preseason matches and stuff?
Yeah, friendlies and stuff. They were here in Charlotte not long ago, and I was going to try to go to the Orlando one coming up, or Baltimore, but just not working out for timing reasons. But I've caught plenty of friendlies at least, and I watch like pretty religiously, even if I'm not at the pub or anything. I watch pretty much every game throughout the season.
Awesome. See, you don't really see that. Well, at least I don't really see that much, like with people following Premier League teams over here. Like I know some people, they have like their supporter group that they go to a bar, or go to people's houses that they watch, Premier League games every Saturday. But there's a lot more casuals in America, which obviously you can't really go and support your Premier League team that you want to watch, or and I think MLS is getting to a point now where there's a lot more team choosing a club to support too.
Yep. I think so too. Although I will say two things on the casual thing. So one, I think that any level of support is totally acceptable. You don't have to be hardcore to be a true fan, and you can be fresh to the team. You could like a specific player, but also I want to tell all of my friends over here in East and Central Time that we are not as hardcore as our West Coast friends, because they're getting up for a normal match at like 4 a.m. If they want to see, like for us, the North London Derby is almost always rescheduled to be like at 7 a.m. for us. So for them, it's like middle of the night. So the people in California, shout out to the West Coast Gooners and the West Coast, Premier League supporters, because you guys are putting an Australian, like all these people way further west, they're putting up with super hardcore times that probably puts strains on relationships that we don't have to worry about.
That's so true. I didn't even consider that.
But no, yeah. That's I realized that like I have a pretty kind of like weird relationship with sports, because I didn't really grow up with them. We grew up with NCAA and March Madness because it's North Carolina. That's like you could literally hate sports and you still care about March Madness in some respect. And also the Hurricanes as well. When they first moved to they moved to North Carolina in the late 90s, but the arena wasn't built here, so they played in Greensboro first. But when they moved to Raleigh, it became a big part of my life. But a lot of my sports like passion came later in life, and I'm 31 this year, so I'm always coming to grips with like, oh well, maybe I'm not like a true supporter in some ways, but then I'm like, no, because I like the teams I like, and I'll never get on someone for theirs, even if I don't like their team. I won't question someone's love for that team because that's whack.
So with Charlotte FC becoming a thing, is there? I mean, my guess is that there's a shit ton of Carolinian support for Charlotte FC. Is there a big like is like are like the Carolinas? Is that a big soccer hub? Is that a thing? Like was it always a big soccer hub?
I think it always was always going to be a big soccer hub. I think that was inevitable. I would have preferred to have it in Raleigh. That's just me. But at the same time, it's like, and that's a city rivalry thing. But like at the same time, like I think it's also because like I look at our professional sports landscape, and so like we don't have Major League Baseball, but we have like 12 minor league teams here. We've got our basketball, football, and now MLS teams are all in Charlotte, and then here in Raleigh we have the Canes, obviously, but then we also have the Courage, which if you don't consider the NWSL Division 1, you're wrong as well, because it is Major League Women's Soccer, whether you believe it or not. But as far as like the big four and the big five, whatever you want to call it, like the balance is very heavily on one side. So, but geographically, it makes sense for Charlotte in a lot of ways because it is closer to Atlanta, and they have that rivalry because of the NFL. And they're also not terribly far from Nashville. That's still quite a ways, but it's there. Cincinnati as well. Like it's a very accessible point. Had it been in Raleigh, it would have been about the same too. Like DC would have been super accessible. Atlanta, not too bad. It's like 8 hours from here. But the soccer culture here is huge. I mean, like there's a bunch of USL teams here. There's USL 2, USL Championship, women's sports that are major minor league. I mean, like it's all over the place, and I definitely think that it was meant to be that the Carolinas would get it, and specifically North Carolina. I always thought that would happen, but I would say the support's pretty strong, and way before Charlotte's FC happened, it was definitely kind of like almost like how baseball is here, where like you either attach to something close enough or you just pick a team. So I knew a lot of people that were Atlanta fans because it was the Southern. Well, Orlando's gonna be mad at me for saying this, but it was the Southern team. Like
you're okay. They're not good. So.
It was the closest Southern team, and there were some DC fans as well. I know a lot of DC fans. But when Charlotte FC came in, it was just like especially closer to Charlotte, and in Charlotte they just fully embraced it, and it's really cool. They're averaging something like 31,000 fans every single home match, and it's been insane. And I went to their first ever game at home, and that's when they opened the upper deck because they normally keep it closed, and it was 74,000. It was insane. I was like I've seen full stadiums of soccer before in other sports, but that was still like to have that happen in my home state was a really big deal. Like whatever anyone's opinion is of the team or who they support, like there were people there that weren't even like, because it was versus LA Galaxy, there were people wearing other shirts, but they were just there to have the experience, and a lot of people were there for their first ever MLS experience, and that's something you will never, like there won't be many more of those. Like St. Louis is the next one, and then that may be it. They may not expand anymore. So if you didn't get your first home game experience with a team that's never had one before, you missed out.
I think, would St. Louis make it 30? Or
it's either 30 or 32. My math's wrong. I think it's 30 because I think 32. I'm thinking in NHL.
They have 28 teams, 29 teams for the 2023 season. So I think they want to make it to 30. I was hearing that.
It's going to be Vegas. I would literally bet, like, I'm not going to, but I would literally bet like a few $1,000s that it's going to be Vegas.
100%.
Vegas will have every single major league sport. Period. It's gonna happen. I mean, they're already getting Formula One too, and they're working on building a basketball arena for NBA. Like they already have WNBA. They're gonna have an NBA soon. Whether they convert the Las Vegas lights or they buy their own new thing, like, I mean, they probably will just stick them in the Darth Vader helmet. I mean, the Raiders arena, which is really cool. Actually, that's not a knock. It's actually pretty awesome.
I actually haven't seen a picture of that. I need to
Oh,
look
dude,
that
it's
up.
insane. And they also share it with University of Las Vegas football as well. They get their own facilities there, and the Red Raiders have a really good setup there too.
Oh shit, that does look
It
dope.
is. It's amazing. Like, I know SoFi is like the bee's knees right now, but I would like, maybe it's just because I like Las Vegas a little bit better. I think the Death Star is really cool.
This is sick. It looks
sick.
so dope.
Yeah.
Isn't it like right at the end of the strip too?
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it getting built. The first before I did get to see it in person, but then like I remember watching it getting built too a few times, and it was really cool. I mean, it's super accessible. Same thing with their hockey arena. Like, that's Vegas is doing it right in that way. So that's why I think that if MLS happens, they'll just be like, even if it's not the Raiders owners, they're going to be like, "Yep, we literally already have the space. Come here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Like, I listened to I think it's called The Soccer Show, literally called The Soccer Show on Spotify, and it's ran by a couple guys that write for The Athletic, and they were talking about like that it's most likely going to be Vegas. That like I don't see why not, but I want more Midwestern teams that are.
There's a lot of missing space for sure. You know, it's like you've got Minnesota, you've got Kansas City,
Chicago,
Columbus
and Cincinnati count,
and St. Louis.
And St. Louis is new.
And for this
I guess
season,
it's like
Nashville's in the West, but then when St. Louis comes in, they'll move to the East. So they're filling in that gap. But yeah, there's a lot of empty space that could be put there. So we'll see. You know, Oklahoma maybe could support it. It really depends. I don't know.
I feel like the only place they would put it in would be Tulsa, and then Tulsa, their ownership group, or either. I don't think their ownership.
It's
group
complicated, man.
Yeah.
It's so hard. But so I don't know if they're going to put another Midwest team. But when they put Vegas in, then they would probably have to find a way to do another Eastern Conference team, which I'm like. Again, Raleigh, I'd love it, but it's definitely not going to happen. So I don't know where else in the East they would put it. Like, it'd have to be somewhere that's east of the Mississippi, but it's not like an East Coast team. It would be like another Midwest team, or maybe they finally bully Detroit and put one there.
Yeah, I heard that they have a really good USL,
Detroit
fan
City
base in there too.
It's they are extremely controversial, regardless of what you think of them. It's a really good supported team, and now they're in the US. They've been floundering around amateur and other leagues, and now they're in USL Championship. So I mean, that's a big deal for that club.
Yeah,
to come from where they came from. So I mean, kudos to them.
For sure. All right, so I knew I wanted to talk soccer with you because, I mean, one, you said you wanted to talk soccer, but two, once you had that shirt on, I was like, oh, hell yeah, we're going. Okay, awesome. But so I saw you go into, like, start diving into 3D exploration. I think you came out with, the first one that I saw was like a goal animation. It was gold.
Yep.
Gold, black.
I was thinking, like, Vegas Golden Knights. Like, that was kind of like what I was like envisioning, was like something you'd see on like a video board or social media graphic.
Yeah, so that turned out really fucking sick. And then you came out with another one that I think it was a little bit better, personal opinion. It was completely different direction. So like it was completely different usage. It was Seattle Surge one, and the Surge one was pretty fucking sick. Kraken. Kraken. Yeah, Kraken. What's Surge? Surge is Call of Duty.
Yeah. Yes.
That's funny.
I mean, the coloring and the logo, I mean, they kind of fit the vibe together. So no,
they do.
No, the
Kraken
one is the one that it definitely is my most viewed thing on Twitter. I think it had like 34,000 views. And it's the one that's all when people come to me talking about 3D stuff. It's the one that gets referenced the most, and it's probably the one that like I spent more time rendering it than actually making it. Whereas like the Colorado Avalanche and the with one that I did, the Stanley Cup final one I did with the Avalanche and the Bolts, like that one was more time doing composition, and I rendered it in something that a mode that was easier to render in because I just wanted to pump it out.
Yeah.
But no, the Kraken one was fun, and you know, it was actually the first ever thing that I'd done in 3D, like the logo. Because I was like, I wanted to add 3D elements to my 2D stuff, and I was like, well, an extruded 3-dimensional logo would look cool, and so I picked the Kraken. It looked really cool, but when I did it the first time, I made that part in Blender and then put the rest in Photoshop, and I always felt like I was selling myself short. Like, I can do the rest of this, but I kind of lost interest for a while, and then I picked it back up and got sucked in really easily. And it's been weird because I took some time off for vacation, and last week I didn't really do much. I started playing around with it again, but the ideas weren't flowing as much, so I'm trying to get back into it. But I mean, like, it's addicting. I haven't been this. I have a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests, and a lot of technical skills, and this is the first time since I picked up Photoshop, and that was like 2003, that I've picked up a visual medium that I've been sucked into. Like, I like motion design, I like photography, I like video. It's all great. 3D is so much more interesting to me, and it's tough. It is really tough, but I
was gonna ask about that. Like, what was the learning curve like? Like, did you watch a shit ton of YouTube tutorials and just dive in?
That I probably did it too stubbornly, and I think that's just because I have a lot of previous artistic experience, and also, so like, as someone who's done photo and video, and also I went to school for concert lighting and sound, so like the idea of like I could picture what I wanted it to look like, and like once I understood how lights work in Blender, it was like creating lighting in real life, except I have an endless budget and I can do whatever I want. So that part was easy. But as far as like learning the interface, learning how to navigate, because it's not intuitive. Even when you understand it, it's not really that intuitive. But the cool thing about Blender, aside from the fact that it's free, which is a huge plus, it is pretty strong, depending on your computer especially. It has a lot of potential. There's a huge community. I mean, YouTube, forums, whatever. If you want to learn how to use it, I mean, there's so many good resources out there to follow. And there's a lot of free resources for like textures and you know, if you need pre-made models. I haven't used anything yet because I'm trying to do everything from scratch, which is maybe not the smartest idea as a beginner. I do that with motion design too. People are like, oh yeah, you can download this template. I'm like, no, I'm going to be stubborn and do it the hard way. I'm going to make my life infinitely more difficult.
You learn more that way, though. Yeah, you learn more that way.
Yeah, but also, I mean, there's something to be said about pre-made stuff because you can deconstruct it. You know, if someone sends you their Photoshop file or their animated file, you can look at it and see, oh, that's how you got that. That's how you got that.
That's true.
But I'm more of a bludgeon my head, metaphorically with it until I figure it out. I'm entirely self-taught, so that having tutorials is super, super helpful for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't had that, like, that thing that you're talking about with like getting into a different type of medium and like having that like hurrah type of moment and like, holy shit, I'm digging my nose into this. I haven't had that happen to me yet. I'm waiting for it. Granted, I just haven't had anything, come up that like piqued my interest to want to dive into something like that. I know versatility as a designer and everything is like really crucial now, especially like, with so many different facets, especially within sports, like so many different facets of design in general are getting utilized really, really well for, not only social media, but, marketing purposes and everything like that, and using it, like representing a brand in many different mediums is graphical mediums, I guess to say, is, making things a lot more successful than just doing it one way. So I know it's there. Nothing has piqued my interest yet. A lot of things are kind of like I look at them, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I like how they did that, but it's like,
You have more control than me, man. I'm the king of overcommitment, and that's probably why it's been both easy and hard to find something new, because a lot of times I'm like, I'll experiment with this, and part of what got me where I'm in my career was being a jack of all trades in some ways. Like, graphic design has always been and will always be my bread and butter. It's my second language. It's easy. Even though I'm always learning new things, as far as like my confidence, I can go into any situation and be fine with it. But then I'm always fascinated by other art styles, and when you're trying to fit in, especially when you don't have a job in design and you're trying to find your way, or if like you're in like I was before I went to Duke, like I was doing a lot of things, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, and so I just kept experimenting. And I think that's a really good idea for any creative to, find what you love, but then don't be afraid to experiment. I think that the versatility helps. But if you go too deep, sometimes some things can hinder. But I don't know. I'm not sure about that, because I do some video editing, I do some photo, I do some motion design. Now I do 3D, and I do, before I did art, I did music, and that's a huge part of my life. So sound design is something too. But like, at some point you don't have enough time to do everything. And that's something you have to think about. Like, okay, what do I realistically have time to spend my energy on? Because you got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to be social, or if you're not social, you still have to have time to yourself.
Yeah.
You got time to play video games or whatever. And I'm guilty of that. I love my art, and I love dedicating a lot of time to art, but I do it for a living. And even though I do it outside of work too, like freelance and personal projects, sometimes I just want to fire up a game, or I have a wife and 3 dogs and a social life, and I try to do everything. And I'm gonna be 31 this year, and I don't have the energy I had when I was 21. So I got to be smart about my time consumption.
Yeah.
But no, I just, to make a very convoluted statement, short, I think if anything piques your interest, give it a shot. Like, look at it. There's no harm in that. And if it doesn't grab you, it doesn't grab you. Like, don't expect everything to grab you instantly. And the only reason why it did, this was my 3rd or 4th time trying 3D anyway, and like every other time I felt like it wasn't for me. It had to be the right context. Like, when I was like, what if I do 3D motion design for sports specifically? I was like, I honed in. I'm like, what am I really passionate about right now? Sports art. That's what I do for a living. That's why I got into this business. And what do I do for fun? Sports art. So what do I need to do for 3D? Sports art. And what did I do? I did it. And I was like, oh. And a lot of people that I follow and a lot of people I connect with and network with are also in athletics, not exclusively. And some people do other things too, but that's what gained that interest, because people were like, it was something unique, different. And I know there's like production teams and there's other individuals that are way further along than me, but the fact that people had such a visceral and positive response to me coming out of nowhere being like, yeah, I've just been literally losing sleep over this. I was like, oh, that's cool. It was worth it. But no, I love it, and it feels weird like getting back into it after pausing, but I'm glad to be back to it. And
it popped off on Twitter too, so you got,
that helps. Yeah, even if it hadn't, I was still gonna grind away. I didn't care. But when I saw, I was like,
you can't lie. It helped, though. It helps 100%.
Yeah, it had people knocking on my door saying, hey, where did you learn how to do this? And I've had plenty of people ask me, and I have a lot of. I still want to put together a video explaining some of my like favorite tutorials. But my main suggestion is like, the first thing you need to do is learn the interface of Blender before you can do anything else. You got to know how you're using it, because otherwise you're going to be like, But once you know how to use it, if you have enough of imagination, you can do what you want with it. It's a very powerful tool.
So we're going around the time that I usually have the episodes go. So around 40-45 minutes. I like the episodes to kind of be that thing where if you're driving into work, or have some downtime, or even in a sense, now that I think of it, I listen to podcasts while I work, so it's like maybe these
I used to do that.
Maybe these should be longer. Is it music or podcast for you?
Oh, it's always been mostly music. Now it's mostly entirely music. Like,
yeah.
I a lot of times it's music with vocals, but it's usually music.
Yeah.
I'm a big metal head, but I don't listen to it when I focus. I like it better when I'm like driving or chilling.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, recently I've been listening to a lot of like 80s and 90s Japanese city funk and city pop, which is like really upbeat stuff. And it's you can find like 2-3 hour compilations on YouTube, and it's amazing.
Oh shit! I've weirdly been into like Latin club music.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It's
hey.
All of a sudden I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna listen to like some Bad Bunny and like Farruko real quick. And I was like,
that's the thing is like,
yeah.
it may not be your main jam, but sometimes you can get distracted. Like, yes, sometimes I need to be like headphones in, super focused, and I'll play something that I like. I'll play like Meshuggah or Black Dahlia Murder or something like that.
Yeah.
But if I'm just like going through a normal day and I like have one AirPod in or something, and I'm listening to people talk and trying to be alert, I'll put on some city pop or put on some synthwave or something engaging enough to listen to, but enough that I can tune out and have a conversation to as well.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that. It's always like during the day. It's like, okay, what do I want to listen to today? And I always come back. It's always just roping me in. It's like, just like the past like 2-3 weeks, it's been just Latin music. I just love like the drums that they got going on, and like sometimes you, especially now in like the Latin rap music, you can tell there's some consistency between English rap and Spanish rap or Latin rap or whatever you want to call it. But like
there's a lot of reggaeton beats stuff that is like really hot, and I understandably why. It's really catchy.
Super catchy. So yeah, I've just kind of just been vibing out to that lately. It's been really nice. Weirdly, and I'm learning that's been a weird fascination. Like with me working in minor league baseball, it's like I talk to a lot of Hispanic players and a lot of Latin players.
Oh yeah, so you have an excuse to have to learn Spanish.
Well, that's one thing that I've been talking about recently. It's like, hey, maybe I should like go on to like Babbel and start learning Spanish or something.
Oh, dude, like I'm here to tell you, like immersion will pretty much always be the best way to learn a language. Obviously, there's academic and ways, but like if you have someone you can talk to in person or even over Zoom, whatever, and you can be around it, it's immensely powerful. Like I am completely just like Art, like entirely self-taught with Swedish, and there's basically no one here to speak it. I mean, except for the Scandinavian Christmas Fair once a year, but like I mostly just listen and talk to myself. So I'm very like, but it's something I'm passionate about. But I have friends over there, and we visit there pretty often. So like when I was there this past week, 80% of the time I was speaking it, and the more time I was there and speaking it, the better and more confident I got with it. And I think that if your goal is speaking, obviously, speaking and listening, you need to immerse yourself. If all you want to do is write, I mean, that's pretty easy. You can just pick up a grammar and vocabulary book. But if you want to like use language and you have people to use it with, that is so powerful, especially because a lot of people in most languages, they're like, oh, you're learning my language. Oh, that's really cool. Like that they'll help you out with it. In my experience, it's always been positive, but also I don't speak French, so I don't know.
Yeah, so like the people that I've told this to may or may not be listening. My fiance may be listening, so she's probably like, Jared, here he goes again. But I want to have that moment where like this white guy from Wisconsin walks up to this guy from the Dominican Republic or Venezuela and starts having a conversation with him in Spanish. And just like have that moment of like, wait, this guy right here is talking to me in Spanish, like
it's a humbling experience. Well, and like you really get to know a person better when you can speak their native tongue, even if they're fluent in your native tongue.
Yeah,
it's a whole different experience. I mean, I feel like, and if you travel and you speak those languages, even if it's poorly, it kind of opens up doors that wouldn't be there if you were just trying to speak English with them. Even if they want to practice their English and they're good at it, whatever. Like if you go to like Nordic countries or, the Netherlands where people speak near perfect English, like you still don't get quite the same experience. And I think that since here in the United States, especially, you have a lot of access to Spanish-speaking people, you will really get to know these people a lot better if you can speak. And then, I've been putting off learning Spanish, but that's just because like, I've been really hardcore focused on my art and on Swedish specifically because I'm only self-taught. But I do want to dip my toes into Spanish again because I used to do that when I was working in restaurants. I used to speak a lot better than I do now.
Yeah, it's learning another language, like you take those language classes in like high school and
they're so poorly done.
Sometimes
I mean, that's
in college, and it's like
standardized testing. It teaches you how to do tests. It doesn't teach you to, like, if you make it to like level 3-4 in a lot of those schools, then yes, you're doing great. That's when you're learning like the full immersion stuff. They don't speak English in those classes. You watch movies, but like the 1 and 2s are like they're credits. So like a lot of times they're like, learn this and test good on these.
Memorize it.
If you want to go further, it's up to you.
Yeah, memorize it, test good, and then after 2 years or 1 year, you can leave. It's okay.
Yep. It's a whole. It's not. I mean, maybe it can help you, and if you become passionate enough to where you care about it, then you'll go somewhere. But otherwise, like, I don't remember any of the French I learned in high school, and it's. I mean, it's also been a long time now. But yeah, I barely passed that class.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's wrap it up.
We're tangential.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. Kennon, obviously, I appreciate you coming on here today. It's been an awesome conversation with you, my man. Obviously, I wasn't thinking it was going to be a bad conversation, but I
hope not.
Well, I felt like right from the bat, started talking about tattoos, started talking about, I mean, then we ended up at language. We talked about everything in between. You know, I thought the conversation went really, really well. So it's been awesome, you know, getting to know you rather than just seeing what you post and what you talk about on Twitter. That's why I like doing this. It's awesome to be able to have conversations and everything. And meet new people. That's the biggest thing too. It's like I don't really have an opportunity to meet a lot of new people anymore, so it's like, why not talk to people and meet new people online? Let's do it.
That's why I love Twitter, man. Talk to everyone from all over the place at all times.
Hell yeah. Love it. Love social media. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to episode 7 of season 3. If you haven't, I'll put a little soundbite in the middle of the podcast so people do this. But if you haven't, go down below, check out Kennon, check out his Twitter, his portfolio, whatever's down below. I'll find links and put whatever down there for you. So all of your socials will be down below. So connect with the man. You've been able to, if you made it this far on the podcast, you've been able to kind of get a grasp on what kind of person Kennon is. So if you have questions for him or anything, obviously my guess is that feel free to reach out and ask. He'd probably be more than happy to.
I'm an open book. I'm accessible. Like,
awesome.
Even if I'm not quick to respond, I'm pretty much always responsive.
Well, there you go, people. There you go. But anyways, guys, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to episode 7 as a humongous truck revs outside my window. But yeah, we will see you in episode 8. And as always, make sure you tell someone that you love them today. All right, take it easy. Peace. We'll see you next time.